Planet Vero Studio is powered by the Nolan Group of RE/MAX Associated Realty. MyNextHomeFinder.com.
It's time now for Mental Health Matters with your host, Lisa Reimer. Mental Health Matters is graciously underwritten by New Vision Eye Center, world-class eye care on the Treasure Coast. New Horizons thanks Dr. Paul Minotti, Dr. Stephen Tate, Dr. Robert Reinauer, and Dr. David O'Brien. Now, here's Lisa Reimer.
Mental health does matter. In fact, mental health is one of the biggest determinants of a person's physical health. Mental health issues can impact a person's thinking, their decision-making processes, and even their behavior. And of course, we know that behaviors do impact our physical health. My name is Lisa Reimer. I'm the host of Mental Health Matters, and I'm a communications officer for New Horizons of the Treasure Coast in Okeechobee. We're the largest mental health and addiction recovery provider in this whole four-county region. We have inpatient and outpatient offices located conveniently around the Treasure Coast and Okeechobee. And if you're interested in learning about the wide range of outpatient services, check us out online. Our inpatient services, we do crisis, adult and children Baker Act receiving facilities. We have a 28-day drug and alcohol rehab, a detox, and an adult group home. All of that's listed on our website at www.nhtcinc.org or newhorizonstreasurecoastinc.org. So in the studio is my wonderful co-host, Katie Love. Hi, Katie.
Hello.
We're going to be hearing about Teenage Confidential, a new segment that we're adding to the Mental Health Matters radio show. And our guest is coming from Eastern Kentucky University. His name is Alec Rothman. Alec?
Hey, glad you had me.
So Alec is actually a PhD candidate, and he was working at New Horizons, and he grew up on the Treasure Coast. So we're going to talk to him about his experience working with us, as well as what he's studied and what his aspirations are for people who may be interested in mental health as their career choice. So Alec, let's start with first of all, you have a psych bachelor's degree. What inspired you to go after psych? I mean, you're a football player. You went to John Carroll High School. Your dad is in law enforcement. Your mom, worked for the government, for the public defender's office. What made you want to go into psych?
I would say that the background of wanting to go into psych, it's honestly kind of personal, but really it was just something that I decided to do. Like when I was in 8th grade, back when I was in school. And I just kind of just said, hey, like this is something I'm really interested in, specifically forensic psychology. And it was something, where I had that background in criminal justice, since my dad, of course, retired major at the sheriff's office and my mom worked at the public defender's office. So I wanted to do something that still had that background, but it was something that, I personally found interesting. So kind of like a combination of the two.
So was it your bachelor's program in psychology? Was that interesting?
Oh, 100%. I went to Florida State University to get my bachelor's, and it was a great experience overall. I really, I would say my 3rd to 4th years of the program was when I really started working towards going to graduate school, and I started working harder, started applying to programs, and that's how I ended up going into a master's program afterwards. And before I did that, I did a couple internships over the summers. My summer after my junior year, I interned at a place called Shanless Counseling and Consultment. They're based out of Stuart, Florida, and that's headed by Dr. Theodore Williams. He is a forensic psychologist. And I would go and shadow him. He would go to courts, prisons, Martin County Prison, Rock Road, and Fort Pierce. And I would go watch him do evaluations, competency to stand trial evaluations, malingering assessments, the whole 9 yards. And I kind of really got an interest in that. And really some kind of work I found exciting. And so that's when I kind of decided, like, okay, this is something I can definitely see myself making a career out of. And so that's when I started applying to graduate programs because I knew I wanted to make a career out of forensic psychology.
So, my son actually was a psych major also. And, psychology is a terrific major in the undergraduate degree for a lot of different careers, whether you go into business or law or even, some of the health sciences, just because you learn about people. Katie, I mean, is that something that I know you've talked about it. Is that something that you're actually considering getting an undergraduate degree in psychology, or?
I wouldn't necessarily go into psychology, but I mean, like, the whole undergrad system is still so vague to me that I'm still trying to figure out where I'm taking this college path. I mean, I'm comfortable now that I know that I'm going to college, but there's so much that I want to learn and do that I don't necessarily know what path I'm truly going to take yet. So it's more of a time will tell for me at this point.
So, Alec, after your master's program, and I know you did an internship for a summer at New Horizons. So after your master's program, you came and worked for New Horizons for what was that, a year?
Yeah, almost a year. I did it. I started in August of 2020, and I just left in the first week of July in 2021, and I came up here to Lexington, Kentucky, to start pursuing my doctorate in clinical psychology. They have a PsyD program here at Eastern Kentucky University.
And so, tell me, because I know you worked in screening as basically a first responder for psychological emergencies. So, tell us about that experience.
It was wow. It was a very I would say eye-opening experience, to say the least. You just see the full gamut of the kind of mental disorders that people are experiencing in our local community. Is something I grew up on the Treasure Coast, and I never had an awareness what people the community were actually experiencing. Seeing substance use disorders, schizophrenia, all kinds of issues. And we were kind of on the front lines, seeing people at their worst, in their most acute stages. And we kind of have to manage that and handle that, and I did intake interviews. I would assess them and see which units, made the most sense for them to go to. We had our detox. We have our detox inpatient unit, of course, and we have our adult stabilization unit. So we had, voluntary individuals coming in. We also had Baker Act drop-offs, Marshman Acts, involuntary individuals. So again, just so many different things to see. We have our children's unit, of course. So sometimes, screening children, which to me was just, oftentimes it was so sad because every time, well, not every time, but most times you're going over to kids unit, you're ended up, you're going to be calling DCF at some point. It's just terrible, but it's a job that someone has to do, and it didn't just stop with doing interviews with the clients. We also had, we'd respond to codes on the units, and we'd answer phone calls from people who are in crisis. So we'd oftentimes be doing telecounseling throughout the day. It's just very, sometimes it was chaotic, or sometimes it was overwhelming, but it was very, I would say, fulfilling, very fulfilling.
Oh, that's interesting. So one of the things that strikes me about you, Alec, is that you are very even-keeled. I think that that's an important aspect in dealing with other people's mental health. It's, there's a whole approach to when there's a crisis, you de-escalate that. And I don't know if I would be that person to do that, but I definitely see that in you. They talk about the most essential ingredients in helping someone else is a level of compassion and empathy, accompanying support. Do you think that that's correct? And elaborate on that just a little bit.
You're saying that compassion and support is what people in mental health issues are needing? Was that your question? Sorry. Okay. No, I 100% agree with that. People oftentimes stigmatize mental health. People don't want to, talk about it and kind of push it aside. But these are things that, let's see, like, for instance, like 15% of people, that are going to experience, depression at some point in their lifetimes. Mental health is, everywhere. It's something that I feel like, especially in this century, I feel like we're going to start, I would say mental health is going to get the visibility that it deserves. I feel like more and more people, especially as younger Gen Z generation, they're the ones who are more apt to discuss it. And I feel like people are starting to realize that, okay, this is, these people are, they're humans too. People say, oh, that person's just a schizophrenic, or that person's, a borderline. That's just terms like that are quickly becoming outdated. We're treating these people as, as we would treat our family members. And that's how it should be. These people deserve as much compassion and respect as anybody does. So I 100% agree with that.
So labeling is not a great thing. So I'll keep that in mind. We're going to take a short break. When we get back, we're going to hear from Katie Love, our new Teenage Confidential segment. And then we're going to talk to Alec about what forensic psychology he's interested in pursuing.
Visit fellowship-trained Dr. Sarah Kadadade for the latest in glaucoma treatment and custom cataract surgery at New Vision Eye Center. Dr. Kadadade received her fellowship training at Yale University and is board certified by the American Board of Ophthalmology. Call for your consultation at 772-257-8700 or visit newvisioneyecenter.com. World-class eye care on the Treasure Coast. That's New Vision Eye Center.
Have you shopped at the Habitat Restore lately? This is one place that everyone must visit. It's become a regular weekly stop for many who love the thrill of discovering all the newly arriving merchandise. We become popular because of the generosity of so many Indian River County residents and businesses that donate goods. To start with, we have a deconstruction crew that removes building materials for the purpose of reuse. Through resale, the Restore continues to support the Habitat goal of serving families in our county. Of course, there's more to see. The Restore's massive showroom displays furniture for every room, all in great condition. Shoppers will love the layout, which separates departments including plumbing, home accessories, electronics, lawn and garden, tools, sporting goods, seasonal goods, and more. The Indian River County Habitat Restore is at 4580 North US Highway 1, just north of 45th Street. Tax-deductible donations can be dropped off, or we'll come and pick them up for free. Online at irchabitat.org.
Are you a therapist or a nurse seeking the multi-state compact license? In the state of Florida, these and many other industries require a Level 2 live scan background check for clearance to work in your industry. A1A Fingerprints is your certified live scan source from Broward to Brevard. And if you're a medical provider, you need to be registered on the ACA web portal. A1A Fingerprints will help you navigate and comply with the law. Call 772-494-6556 or visit a1afingerprints.com. A1A Fingerprints.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters. If you're just joining us, I'm in the studio right here with Katie Love, my co-host, and we're talking remotely to Alec Rothman, who is a doctorate student in psychology, clinical psychology at Eastern Kentucky University. If you missed the first part of the show, you can check us out online at our Facebook page. You can also go to our website, www.nhtcinc.org. Also, our crisis line, open 24 hours a day, is 772-468-3909. Okay, Katie, so we're going to hear about some of the trending concerns of the young people, high school age today. So what's your segment?
I was talking a little bit about how social media influences a lot of the mental health of teenagers, and it's been a pretty decent thing within a lot of teenagers my age. I mean, I talk a lot with my friends about how often we like want to just take a break from social media because we're just so tired of seeing all of the same stuff over and over and over again. And it's, with social media, it's such like a mask is always on. You're always projecting the best parts that could be projected and hiding away anything else. And it's it's such a way where kids can say whatever's on their mind, and that's half the time it's not good things. So it's a lot easier for this like bullying that's gone around, and there's been like this social divide, I think, since COVID, really, that we were talking about in my class today, that like I'm a senior, and compared to some of the freshmen, there seems to be like this whole new way that we're like dealing with things. Because, you know, with my age group, we're all very connected, especially in our classes. And my artistics director was talking about how he feels like there is this giant divide with all the freshmen, because they spent so long learning through a screen and only being able to connect through telephones, that they weren't able to start making these really important connections that are needed. And when I went through COVID, I mean, I spent a lot of my time online learning, and I was miserable there because I love people and I love interacting with people, and being stuck just staring at a screen was so like, not degrading. I don't know why I'm just thinking about it, but so like it made me so unmotivated. Just I hated waking up every morning and being like, okay, back to the computer screen. So it was never, and you know, the only way you could be able to connect was through social media, where everyone else is kind of sharing all of these negative thoughts, and it was never a very like communal thing. It was really just everybody kind of being mad at the world, and nobody being able to really offer this kind of help. And so, I mean, I found myself often just like shutting my phone away and like not talking to anyone, because it was better than, you know, just having to reread the same thing over and over again. And a lot of my friends were agreeing with me about that, about how hard it is to go through social media as your only source of connection. So I think a very important thing with mental health is being able to have a physical connection with somebody, being able to reach out. And there is a statistic that I looked up a long time ago of how many hugs a person needs a day. And it's like 4 for survival. So I think it's very important that we have like someone in our social system always, or social circle, always there to kind of provide this like physical comfort that you really can't get through a screen. So that's my piece for the week, of saying there just needs to be something with social media that gives us a chance to be able to interact with others, because it's very, very important, and it helps build really important relationships that will help throughout your entire life, especially within mental health.
That's very interesting. A lot of the things that you brought up are things that we talk about in mental health, such as connection being the opposite of addiction. That's the remedy, connecting. And we also have at New Horizons a psychosocial rehabilitation for people who have been homeless or incarcerated or living on sort of the fringe of society, dealing with their mental health issues and their addiction issues. And then so now they're being put into classes that are group focused, and there's this whole social aspect, not just group classes, but also like, you know, going out, doing like field trips and weekend, you know, outings, and just barbecues, hanging out with other people who are dealing with some of the same issues.
I think another important thing that I realized is it's so much easier to exclude others through social media. I mean, it's supposed to be a thing about unity, but one of my friends is experiencing this disconnection from people because they just won't include her in like group chats and plannings, because, you know, it creates this really hard divide, which is so draining, and it's awful. Like, you mean, and there's like, you can't force them to like add her or anything. It just creates more of a tension. So
it's really strange, because it's not just the kids. I mean, I hear about people saying so and so didn't like my post, and so you know, it's not just kids. I mean, adults are being really impacted by this social media phenomenon as well. So, okay, so now we're going to go back to Alec. And you might want to pull some of the social media stuff that you're learning about, but we do want to hear about your forensic psych aspirations.
Okay, yeah. First of all, like, yeah, I totally agree with what was said so far. I mean, about social media, you know, it seems like now as a society, like, we're the most connected and disconnected we've ever been. You know, like, people, you know, you go on social media and you see, you know, people posting you only see the positive, and it makes you feel like, oh, I'm not living, the things I'm doing aren't worthwhile, because you see all these people, on their feeds, having a great time. And it makes you feel like, like, hey, like, why am I not having a good time? And so people, I feel like their self-esteem is kind of getting intertwined with these posts, and it's just something I see like contributing to why, more and more, I would say more and more people nowadays are experiencing, like, depression or like self-esteem issues. Like, it's something I think is so insidious. But yeah, as far as my forensic aspirations, I would say that I am really interested in working on working with personality and offenders and the relation between that, antisocial personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, and doing research with personality assessments. But before I was doing that in my master's program, I was doing my thesis research on working with sex offenders. I was working at a prison up in Louisiana, Bossier Parish Correctional Facility. And there I was teaching classes, risk management classes with offenders, substance offenders and sex offenders. And that's when I kind of got the idea to do my research on a group like that. And I was looking at differences and thinking patterns between different groups of sex offenders. And I'm just like, wow, like, what a group to work with. I know many people just don't, completely turned off by that. And I mean, it's totally understandable. Some of the things these guys talk about in their past is just so grisly. But I mean, I feel like there's someone out there who needs to work with them, because I feel like some of these guys, and women can get better. It's just wow, just like a lot of stuff to go through. But as far as the research I'm doing now, I'm in what's called the Personality Assessment Laboratory at EKU, and it's headed by Dr. Dustin Wygant. He's the chair of the program, and right now we're doing a grant-funded study with post 9/11 veterans, and we are looking to see if how their emotional functioning is as referenced by this popular personality assessment instrument that's being used, called the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory. Mm-hmm. And this is something that's been used since the 1940s, and now it's in its third generation. So we're looking to kind of validate that with this population. So whenever, like, for instance, at the VA, when they're doing diagnosis and things like that, that kind of it's like a self-report inventory that they take, and it aids clinicians in making sure they get the appropriate diagnosis that leads them to get the appropriate services that they need. It's very important work.
Wow, I feel so much better knowing that you're in there doing that stuff. I mean, yes, the sex offenders definitely need people who are committed to a certain population to help them heal, or else we're going to have cyclical perpetuation of a lot of that behavior. And a lot of people can't deal with that. They recoil from that. So thank goodness that there are, and definitely that sounds fascinating about the veterans. We look forward to hearing more about that in the future. Thank you, Alec. If somebody is interested in contacting you, can you give us your email?
Yeah, of course. My email is it's going to be Alec, ALEC _ Rothman, ROTHMAN 1 at mymail.eku.edu. Okay. And
if you want to get a hold of me, I can also give you his email, because that was a long one. 772 672 8333 672 8333. Thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to talking to you again next week.
Hey, again, thank you for having me.
Thanks.